On this edition of the Roundball Report, we'll preview the upcoming Title IX girls basketball tournament, present you with a special feature on the Capital Christian Academy girls, recap the week that was for the Washington Wizards and the rest of the NBA with Kelsey Nelson of the Roundball Report and Coach Jimmy Fly Hellman of HSRN. So sit back, relax, and get ready for your weekly dose of serious hoop talk because the Roundball Report is next.
What if you could invest in the future of kids, like a stock? Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow.
My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
Hello, I'm Andrew Dyer, and welcome to another edition of the Roundball Report, the only show in the area dedicated to highlighting the excellence of the high school, college, and professional basketball teams which play in the Washington metropolitan area. And here with me again is my co-host, Coach Nikki Lewis of Capital Christian Academy.
Yes.
Nikki, welcome back.
Thank you.
You're showing your versatility. Last week you were in the guest chair. This week you're in the co-host chair.
I'm showing that I am a team player.
No doubt, no doubt. And speaking about team players, we've got the newest addition to our team, Kelsey Nelson here, along with a long-standing member of the team, Coach Jimmy Fly Hellman.
Fly, welcome guys.
Welcome,
Kelsey.
And congratulations, I understand that in store for you, young lady. Like, she's just beaming. You can see a recent college graduate. I can remember those days. It's got to be congratulations.
Thank you so much.
And of course, we're going to get things started this week. We're going to talk about high school basketball. And Nikki, a team near and dear to your heart, our good buddy Edward Strand went out and covered one of your recent games and had a chance to file this report on Capital Christian Academy girls. So check it out.
We are here in Landover, Maryland to watch the Capital Christian ladies take on Math, a team from Baltimore, Maryland.
I'm here with Coach Nikki Lewis after a game tonight, and we want to know what are your thoughts after the game.
It's a brand new team. We're working really hard to get the girls to come together. It's all about chemistry, teamwork, teaching, and just being positive. So every game and every practice, my focus is be positive with the girls and teach as much as I can in every practice.
It looked like they got their rhythm during the game for a couple of quarters there. How can you build upon that?
We go into practice tomorrow and we keep working on staying together as a team. We have to learn that even though we're down, we're not out. And it was 25-35. So if we would have just kept pushing and staying aggressive, we would have brought the score up a little bit more. So it's more about just teaching the girls how to continue to play basketball and stay in the game.
What's next?
Next is we go to practice tomorrow and Thursday and WISE on Friday. So on Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to talk about defense, offense, attitudes, aggression. We're going to get on the floor and we're going to go over defense, offense, attitude, and aggression, and we're going to bring it on Friday.
All right, Coach, good luck.
Thank you.
Capital Christian fell to the Maryland Math, but as Coach Nikki Lewis said, they will continue on. This is Edward Strand for the Roundball Report. Back to you guys at the studio.
Great job, Ed. And now we're here with that coach. I'm hyped. I mean, Jimmy, I could play for that coach.
Yes, that aggression. She brings that aggression to the studio.
Yeah, they didn't see that. They didn't see the stuff.
Pre-game.
They didn't see the pre-game stuff behind the cameras, without a doubt. And girls high school basketball is doing some great things. Nikki, and you guys have the Title IX tournament coming up this weekend, and that's we had hoped to have some members from the Title IX tournament here, but the technical situation prevented them from being there. But the Title IX Girls Invitational High School Tournament is coming up this weekend. It's going to be on December 27th, 29th, 29th, and the 30th. The 28th, they have a gala, but the games are at DC Armory, and they start at noon each day. And Nikki, there are going to be a bevy of teams from throughout the East Coast participating in that tournament.
Yes, I am excited. Our team will be participating in the tournament on Saturday, and we're only playing one game, but I will be in the gym the whole time, checking out the games, and along with you guys. I think it's a great tournament. It gives the girls an opportunity to get out there and really show their worth, their style. You have college coaches that are coming in. It's a really great tournament, and I'm happy to see the Saladin Reeses continuing with the Title IX tournament every year.
Right, and that's in Saladin, wasn't able to make it tonight. But Kelsey, one of the things that we're going to do, and which is nice associated with the tournament, as you talked about the college coaches, but they're trying to prepare the young ladies for workshops and communications to let them know what it's like to be interviewed and things of that nature. And we're going to come down there as a group to try to help educate them on that process, do some mock interviews, and let them know what that's like. Because you were a high school athlete and then had to transfer to communication. So not only will it prepare the ones that go on to play collegiately to get a chance to do those interviews and whatnot, but it'll give them a chance that those that aren't able to play collegiately, hey, maybe this is something I'm interested in doing.
Exactly, I love that, because I think that's one of the biggest critiques players get now is that, yeah, you're great on the court, but you also want to know how to talk and how to speak, especially if your career path changes obviously after high school or after college. So that's great, obviously, and a lot of people do go from athletes to TV, as we see in TV all the time. So I think that's wonderful, especially for female athletes.
Right, and of course Title IX, I guess it was about 35, 40 years now?
Yes.
Where you had to, if you had to give women, not had to be, thankfully, gave women the same opportunities in athletics as they did on the men's side, and this tournament is commemorating that, so many years of it. It's going to be a very talented field, Coach, and we see the impact that women's sports has throughout, and it's all a direct benefit from Title IX.
Oh, most definitely. I mean, from where basketball, just women's basketball, you go back to, you probably remember Immaculate Conception, this Pennsylvania school that I think they were wearing the skirts back then. They were dominant.
They were wearing the
skirts.
skirts.
Then you went to, Tennessee, Connecticut, UConn, and just the opportunities. You have women sportscasters now. Who would have thunk that, 35 years ago?
Right.
So Title IX has definitely opened a lot of doors when it comes to females in sports and now into television, which I just hope it keeps going. Yeah,
without a doubt. And then once again, you can check out that tournament. The Title IX Invitational is going to be this weekend, December 27th, 29th, and 30th. The game started at noon each day at the DC Armory. We're going to be down there covering it and presenting some workshops. So if you want to see some of the best girls high school basketball in the area, go check that tournament out. Right. And of course, Coach Jimmy, as we transition to college basketball, you had a chance to do on the girls' side to see some of those young ladies that aspire to get to the next level. You got a chance to do the University of Maryland against Coppin game the other day, and you were very impressed with the Lady Terps, shall we say?
The Lady Terps were as advertised, 11th ranked in the country, and they showed why. I mean, they're deep at every position. They got multiple players at every position. This young lady, Brianna Jones, underneath, Kimbrough. She has a hyphenated name. I forgot her name.
Walker Kimbrough?
Yeah, Walker Kimbrough. And she's from Pittsburgh area, Alquippa, PA. But the little point guard, Brene Mosley, she had a heck of a game. She has that ball on a string. She had like 18 points, 7 assists. But the thing that impressed me was, the game got out of hand, obviously. The final was 110-51. But sometimes when you get in a game like that, players will relax. They played 40 minutes at the same level. And I read the comments by Coach Freeze afterwards. She had said the last 2 games they had been able to maintain that level of play because they did, go to Notre Dame and get hammered. But to get back to the Final Four, you have to play to your standards, not the opponent. And it was impressive.
Right, and Kelsey, of course, you being a University of Maryland grad now, get a chance to see them up front on the men and women's side. And as Coach mentioned, they struggled in that game against Notre Dame. But going into the Big Ten, it should be an easier path for them than it was in the ACC, where you had to deal with the North Carolinas, Duke, North Carolina State, night in and night out. Athletically, I don't think there are going to be many teams in the Big Ten that can match up with them. But so it gives them a chance to really lay a foundation to become a powerhouse in the Big Ten in their first year.
I can see them definitely going back to the Final Four and hopefully obviously advancing past the schools like Notre Dame. And us going to the Big Ten, right, you kind of eliminate those big ACC basketball schools, which is so exciting. And in the Big Ten, I think it will be a different style of play, but I think they've adjusted well. And Coach Freeze is the best coach I think ever to like, really be able to make that adjustment. And even after losing Alyssa, I think we still have been like that strong basketball school. And I think everybody can see Maryland girls will go far.
Right, and like you said, they had the superstar Alyssa Thomas last year, but now they have a very balanced team. And when you got a talented team like that, it's hard for them to hold the score down because the second five are trying to prove that they should be in the first five, Coach.
Well, they're inside, outside. They ran their transition offense. They would get whatever shot they wanted to get, they got it. You know, whether it was in, as soon as if Coppin State scored, they had the ball up the court in like 3 seconds, boom. They were into whatever they wanted to do. So they had speed. They got the whole gamut. You know, the question is they go forward in the Big Ten. I think they have a CBS game coming up at Nebraska.
Okay.
So that'll be their first test on the road in the Big Ten against a ranked team to see how they can, you know, perform on the road.
And speaking about ranked team, as we switch to the guys' side, 17 in the country, and they had a big win over the weekend. I'm talking about the Maryland men's basketball team, won at Oklahoma State. And Melo Trimble doing his thing, but Jake Lemon showed his game traveled, had a huge game against Oklahoma State.
Right, and like you said, they were 17. Now we moved up to 15. And it's funny that you said that because at graduation, that's one of the biggest applauses we got was that we finally have a basketball team that we can root for. And I think they said it's been 9 years since we've had a team that's been ranked that high. So it's really exciting, especially for this area to have basketball, even with the Wizards obviously on that side, but to have basketball back at its prime. And our boys are doing wonderful. We have Melo Trimble. Jake Layman has been a huge name. I think people have forgotten that Des Wells has been out and injured.
Right.
And that was his 6th game that he missed. And we're still doing good. And it will be really exciting to see how we come back and play the ranked teams.
Right, they've only got 1 loss on the year.
Exactly.
That's great.
Yeah, well, against a tough Virginia just moved up to number 5. They dominated Harvard. Only gave up 27 points.
Their defense is unbelievable.
I mean, I watched the Kentucky game. They held UCLA to 7 points in the first half. Kentucky's a monster. I don't know anybody's going to have a solution for that. But Maryland, you know, that's a tough place to play, Stillwater, Oklahoma.
That's
and
a
the
huge
other
victory.
thing, Melo Trimble leads the country in free throw shooting 85%. So now you get Des Wells back. You're late in ball games. You can put the ball in Melo Trimble's hands and basically finish teams off.
Oh, yeah.
And for a freshman, it's unique because he's had some of his better games on the road, Jimmy.
The kid's mentally tough. I liked him at the Capitol Classic when we saw him. You know, he didn't really have a particularly great game. I wasn't concerned about that because I just saw his body, the way he could shoot the ball, his form. And he has the strength to go in there and take contact. Maryland, I think, has taken the most free throws in the country, attempts. So that tells you you're driving the basketball, you're getting physical. When you add Des Wells back in the mix, this is a team that should be dancing come March Madness.
Yeah, and Kelsey, we just see, we've talked about it so many times, is that Coach Turgeon tried the DC assault type of recruiting, and those type of players just didn't have the character issues that he needed to move forward. Now all those kids are gone. He's brought in a fresh crop of kids, as talented, but more or less, but better, team-oriented guys.
Exactly, yeah. Watching them bond and men, you could just see the chemistry on the court. And I think after we lost 5 players last year, everybody was scared about Maryland basketball. I think if you told me this last year that we were ranked this well, I wouldn't have believed it. So it's great to see that. And Turgeon has done a great job, and I don't think he has gotten the proper, accolades for what he's done. But it's really great seeing it, and I think we'll continue to go far.
And down up on the hilltop, Georgetown, they've lost 3 games, but all against top-notch opponents. But they got a very impressive freshman class as well, Coach Fly.
Well, they just knocked off Cornbread Maxwell's old team, Charlotte 49ers. They used to be the UNCC, but that's going way back for the audience at home. The older people know what I'm talking about. But I think they had 5 guys in double figures. They finished them off at the free throw line late. It was like 81-78. So you like to see that kind of balanced scoring. The big game coming up next is on the 27th against Indiana at Madison Square Garden. They need that win because they got the win early against Florida. Lost the Wisconsin because the Big East is no longer the Big East of the past. You got to have some quality out of conference wins so that when decision time comes, you can get over the hump and get in the tournament.
Right, okay. Well, that's going to wrap up college basketball. We're going to go to a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to turn the page to NBA hoops as we have a special feature on Flip Saunders' return to the Verizon Center as coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we recap the week that was for the Wizards and the rest of the NBA with our panelists of my co-hosts Nikki Lewis, Kelsey Nelson, and Coach Jimmy Fly Hellman right after this, so stay with us.
Whoa. Where did she come from?
I want you guys to remember to register with the Selective Service System. Are you guys between the ages of 18 through 25? Guys living in the U.S. or U.S. citizens living overseas need to go online or go to the post office and register. It's that easy.
Tonight, the Washington Wizards play host to the Minnesota Timberwolves, the youngest team in the NBA, featuring a roster loaded with talent, including the last two NBA draft #1 picks, Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett. Should be an interesting game. Let's see what these young Timberwolves can do tonight.
You play with LeBron, a young player. Talk about playing with young players, the young Timberwolves that you have.
Well, you got to take your bumps. Obviously it's tough times. You want to win. You're used to winning, and, it get frustrating, but, you got to, stay positive. You got to, continue to come to work. You got to continue to give effort, and you got to continue to, to progress.
My dad always made me play defense when I was younger. I grew up just playing defense all the time. My older brothers and the older players they used to play with my brothers.
Patience, and they identified, letting them play. Who could play with those guys, and so I think the biggest thing is that you have to have patience. You have to understand that sometimes you have to bite your lip. You got to let your young guys play, and the biggest thing is you have to identify if the young player is going to be there or not be there. And I know when I left and I talked to Ted, we talked about the players on the roster, and we talked about who we thought could help and who couldn't. And I think some of the players they thought couldn't help, they made decisions and got rid of them. They went in a different direction.
The interesting thing about the young Timberwolves, the #1 pick, Andrew Wiggins, only had 9 points in this game. He looked really lethargic at times and uninterested to me. For him to be the #1 pick in the entire NBA draft, he's got a lot of growing to do. Very interesting to see what Flip Saunders is going to do with this young team. The majority of the team is young players, rookies, first-year players. 7 players, to be exact, are rookies or first-year players. So really interesting to see what Flip Saunders will do with this roster with Bennett, Wiggins. Another great night from Thaddeus Young, the 7-year vet from Georgia Tech, leading this Timberwolves team right now. But it's got to be a tough situation if you're Flip Saunders trying to coach this young squad. So for the Washington Wizards, though, they handled their business, defeating a team that they were supposed to, a sub-500 team, and a great performance once again from Raseel Butler and John Wall. For the Roundball Report, I'm Lexter Taylor saying so long until next time.
And we're back. Thank you to Lexter Taylor for that report. We're still in the studio with Kelsey Nelson and Coach Fly. So let's talk about the Wizards. We're on the NBA side. So the Wizards are tied with Atlanta. Coach Fly, your thoughts on bringing Nene back out into the starting lineup and moving forward past Atlanta, and we have the Raptors ahead of them as well?
Yeah, the Raptors got the #1 seed in the East right now. But they're in the same division with Atlanta, so you want to beat them so you get that edge on them and automatic home court advantage, and at worst, the 3rd seed. Since Nene came back from his injury, Humphries, they kept him in the starting lineup, and Humphries did well for multiple weeks while Nene was out. But there's, I think he's hit a wall. He can only do what he can do. Right. His production is down. His minutes are down. I think he played 13 minutes in the Phoenix game. you got to put, especially a team against Phoenix, why not start Nene? They're weak inside. They're a finesse team. Pound them inside with Gortat and Nene. They didn't do that. They lost that game. I thought that was a game they should have won at home. Got closed out in the fourth quarter. And Phoenix played 3 point guards in the fourth quarter to close the game out. Bledsoe,
Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, the little guard. But 3 small guards, you got to go to a power lineup and make them pay for making that kind of move. The Wizards didn't. I didn't like that. And I don't like that they're getting ready to go on the road west after these 3. You know, they get a Christmas gift with New York on Christmas Day.
New York's going to get New York's
They are, but they should go up there and handle the business.
They got
Chicago first, then the Knicks, and then Boston, then they go west for 5. That's going to tell me the mindset of this team. I would think Nene would be reinserted in the starting lineup, and I called for this several weeks back. I think Drew Gooden and DeJuan Blair's sight, and he's got no minutes. This guy's an energy guy. You brought him in, but you're not giving him a chance to play. He can give you quality minutes if you get him on the floor. So the power forward position right now for the Wizards is up in the air.
Right, and then they looked good in the game against Miami, Kelsey. He looked like he had to burst back, looked like he's over the plantar fasciitis, and they need to get him in that starting lineup. Got a huge game against Chicago, and you know that Nene's going to be fired up for last year's playoff matchup, so I think that should be the game to put him back in the starting lineup.
Right, like you said, against the Heat, he looked amazing. He led the team. I know him and John Wall, and it's like you need that back for tomorrow's night's game against the Bulls. And without having him in the starting lineup, like you said, Chris Humphries, at first he was good, but now he's like dwindled off, and it's kind of sad. It's really sad.
What's the reason?
It's kind of like the Kardashian wedding, I want to say. They like started high, and then like
and now it's just like down here.
It's turned into a reality show.
Yes. We don't want the Wizards fans. Like, we're so excited about this season. We need him back in the lineup, and the Wizards need to get back to playing Wizards basketball.
Right. And Rasul Butler is coming back down to earth in the last few games. But John Wall had coming off of being the Eastern Conference Player of the Week. But one of the things I like about it, Paul Pierce, he could sense the fact that Miami, that was a game they should have handled them. They pulled out at the end, but they were playing without Chris Bosh. Of course, they don't have LeBron this year. That was a statement game. They should have really pounded them. They came away with the victory, but Paul Pierce was not happy about that because he could see that playing that style of ball, just thinking we can turn it on when we need to, was going to eventually cost them, and it did against Phoenix.
Well, see, I'm glad Paul Pierce agrees with me because I didn't like the last game either. No, there's a mindset that you have to get to mentally to sustain yourself over an 82-game season. Paul Pierce has been to the promised land and got there and got the brass ring, so he knows the ups and downs and when he's probably got to step on people in that locker room to get them to raise the level of their game up. You can't just get up because Chicago's coming to town. When you got a team that you can hammer, you need to hammer them, get your starters out. That's when you get the reserves in there, get them some minutes, valuable minutes, but put teams away. They didn't put Phoenix away, and they gave that game away. The Western Conference right now, at the start of this season, they're like 110 and 64, like 65% win percentage against the Eastern Conference. If the Wizards or whoever in the East is going to come out with that 1 seed, if you can go west and beat those teams, you're going to have a leg up on everybody else in the Eastern Conference.
So is it safe to say that when it comes to the Wizards sustaining through the rest of the season and really staying in games and finishing games, that it's going to really take them listening to Paul Pierce and listening to this veteran tell them, this is how we have to play. We can't just decide at the end of the game we want to win the game because you're not going to make it through the season that way. You got to keep pounding. We got to keep pounding. So is it safe to say they're going to have to really listen to him and really take his advice to heart, especially John Wall, and and getting the Nate back in the lineup? It sounds like that's going to be very important when it comes down to the line for the Wizards.
Well, first, Coach Whitman, you got to listen to him. But having a voice like Paul Pierce in there to reinforce what's being said, because I know Coach Whitman wasn't happy with the defense in the Phoenix game. So sometimes when they tune the coach out, or maybe they're you're getting close to the holidays, people thinking the Knicks are coming up. But Carmelo Anthony on primetime TV, he's going to try to go for 50 on you, so you better go in there ready to knock them down. And you're on a national stage now. The Wizards haven't been in a national stage game like this. It's a huge game. Go in there, handle your business. And then you got Boston minus Rondo after that.
Oh, yeah.
And the Chicago game is going to be very pivotal. I mean, because I think Rose is supposed to be back, but they've been winning without him. Jimmy Butler stepped up, had 2 30-point games, and they're beating teams. They won at Memphis. So I mean, and they won at Houston. I mean, Chicago is really trying to live up to that. I mean, I didn't like the fact that a team that the Wizards knocked out in the first round just because they picked up Paul Gasol and Rose was coming back, were just acclaimed as the #1 seed. But right now they're playing like they're a team that is built to last with or without Derrick Rose.
Right, they cannot sleep on the Bulls at all. Obviously, like you said, their Bulls are a hot team right now. So are the Wizards. So it's going to be a great matchup and a great game. Obviously, John Wall, he's going to have to be there. Paul Pierce, we need him. And Gortat, I was disappointed in him in the Heat game. He only had 4 points. I know it's this season low. He's really going to have to step up in the paint and really give the Wizards, some big wins.
And one of the things with Gortat, and I want to see with Nene as well. I mean, they're 2 big bruisers, but they're skilled. But too often they like to rely on their finesse moves instead of just attacking guys in the paint. I want to see them do that on a more consistent basis. Gortat's been doing that, but now that Nene's back, he's settling for his jump shot instead of just pounding and bruising people. But I think he needs to do that when he gets against his bubble buddy Noah tomorrow.
Oh yeah, well he's going to have some flashbacks, and he's going to go down that post and handle his business because the guy's 250. He's solid, and he throws people around down there. And then with Gortat on the weak side, that's how they punished Chicago last year. But the difference right now in the scheduling, the Wizards have been at home this first part. They're 13-3 at home. Chicago's been on the road. They're 12-4 on the road to start this season. So the schedule shifted. They're playing home games.
Right.
That's why it was imperative the Wizards, you don't throw away games you can win at home because they got a tough 5-game West Conference road trip coming up, at the end of December, first part of January. That will be, to me, that's the measuring stick. When you go out there, if you can win out there, then you can win anywhere.
Well, I mean, this is the last show of the year, guys. So the Wizards are in first place. What do you expect in the new year from them, Kelsey, in order to try to get into the top 2 seeds in the East?
Like you said, it's going to take going to the West, beating those teams to come back here, hopefully come home, and so you can continue that path and going forward. I think Paul Pierce said it best, like the defense. Defense has to step up. Defense helps win games, and that's why we saw him so mad about that. And even the Heat game, they had to come back. You don't want to have to keep coming back, own the game. Like that's what happened in the Suns game. They led the whole game, and then they ended up winning. But you want to see that from the Wizards.
Jimmy?
There may be some trades in the wind. Josh Smith just got released. I know the Wizards, thank God, said they're not interested because I think he's a chemistry killer on teams. But Lance Stevenson, that's not working out. He's on the trade block. Rondo already got moved to Dallas, which is strengthening them. Teams are going to, especially teams in the mix, are going to start looking for players to move.
But we're not going to trade anybody here. We love the talent we have here at the Roundball Report. That's going to do it for this edition. I know you enjoyed it. It was informative and action-packing. Looking forward for more coverage of the Title IX tournament on the high school basketball scene, local college basketball, and professional interviews with the players and coaches from the high school, college, and professional basketball teams in the metropolitan area on future shows.
And remember, if it's on the court, we're definitely around the ball. And to all you aspiring athletes out there, remember to put your grades first to make all your hoop dreams come true. I'm Nikki Lewis.
And I'm Andrew Dyer for the Roundball Report. Good night, happy holidays, happy New Year, Merry Christmas.
How far would you go to help someone? Would you go to the end of your driveway? Would you cross a street? Would you cross an ocean? To a place 6,000 miles from home? And how long would you go? Would you go for a week? A month? A year? Would you go for 2 years? Would you go if you could use your knowledge to teach someone, and in the process, maybe learn something yourself? Life is calling. How far?
Know the way the trees smell after the rain. I will grow a heart so strong that hospitals will take Tuesdays off. If I ride uphill, I will eventually get to ride downhill. That's how it works. If I ride, my breath will fill the air instead of smoke and car exhaust. If I ride, road rage will turn into laughter. And I won't be a boy or a girl. I will just be a rider. If I ride, I will be strong.